Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Bigger Profits YouTube channel. I always like to say I'm not an expert and I'm not a guru. I'm just an average guy who figured out how to build a real estate investing business through wholesaling and creative finance. Now, even though this channel used to be just about creative finance and wholesaling, I really am passionate about it. If you've been watching my videos, helping people not only make bigger profits in their business and financial life, but really make bigger profits in all areas of your life. So I've been shifting this YouTube channel to really include more content that helps you make more profit in your personal life, your marital life, your health, your spiritual life, just everything, because I really think that it's not just enough to make more money and be more profitable in your business, but for you to be more profitable all around. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, and it all flows together, and it all it is interconnected in terms of how your life really progresses, not just in your business, but personal and marital and relational and all these different things. They all coexist and they're all intertwined. So really excited about having more content that's going to be outside of real estate. Now, today's video, I'm really excited about it, but it is real estate related today, but be on the lookout for more content that's outside of real estate. But today's video I'm really excited about because it's for the first time I'm going to be breaking down a seller call that I did. And if you've never done your first call, this will be great, because really the reason why most people don't do a call, even though they know they should when they're getting into real estate, is they're afraid. They're afraid of the rejection. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing. And you'll actually notice on this call, I am not perfect at all. Again, I'm not an expert or a guru, but my mentor always told me that it's better to take imperfect action than no action at all. So you'll really see the fruit of that it's important to just take action, and you're going to get better as you do this. But practice does not make perfect, it makes permanent. So you got to practice the right things, and the more you practice the right things, the better you'll get at it, and it'll become more natural. So I'm excited to really share with you guys. Stay tuned to the very end of this because there's some really cool things that happen. I even was able to negotiate down the seller. So if you're someone who is thinking, man, it's going to be hard just to get on a phone call with someone, could you imagine them, saying that they want this price for the property, but you're able to basically walk them through logically and even emotionally why you need to buy the property at a lower price. So there's really some good things to take from this. There's also some things to learn that I'm messed up on. So I'm really excited. If you've done a call before, this will still be great. Hopefully you'll be able to get some value from this. So really excited to share this and break down this call with you guys. And thank you again. And let's get to it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Again, welcome back to the seller call breakdown. I'm just going to jump right to it. This is going to be a little informal. I'm just going to play the call. Hopefully you can hear it very clearly. If there isn't any text on the bottom of subtitles, just leave comments below if you weren't really able to hear exactly what the seller was saying. But I'll do my best to try to explain everything that's happening and what the seller's saying. Again, I'm not an expert and I'm not a guru, so I don't have the most advanced technology and equipment. This is more so just to give you guys content to be able to take from it what you can and really do with it what you can. So hopefully that this helps. So I'll go ahead and start from the beginning of this call, and then you'll hear me really just stop throughout the call and kind of talk about it and what really happened. So I will go ahead and play from here, and hopefully you guys can hear it. Hey, is this Tarnika?
Oh, yes, it is.
Hey, Tarnika, this is Miles.
Hey, Miles, how are you?
I'm good. Hopefully I'm not catching you at a bad time.
You're a good man, Miles.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I just wanted to, I don't want to take too long. I know you got a busy day. I just wanted to reach out about that property, that 2-1 on 226. So I'll just go ahead and stop there. So notice that when I answered the call, I just said her first name, Tamika. Of course, when we're skip tracing these properties, we'll see the first and last name. You don't really want to say like, hey, is this Mr. So-and-so, or is this, Tamika, Johnson, whatever the last name, maybe that's not her last name, obviously for privacy reasons, but you want to seem more personal, or personable, sorry. So really just saying their first name, it's aligned with like a friend of theirs or someone that they know. Usually your friend isn't saying, let's say your name is, I don't know, Joshua Smith. Your friend's not like, hey, Joshua Smith, how are you? You know, your friend's like, hey, Josh, how's it going, right? So you want to just answer the call. Hey, is this John? Hey, is this Tamika? You know, I think, again, the more you do these calls, the better you're going to get at really making sure that you are really relaying the message across to the seller that you're not here to waste their time. You want to be respectable. You know, I'm respectful of what's going on in your life. So notice I said, you know, hey, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I don't want to take a lot of time. I know you're busy. You know, just acknowledging, you know, that you're not here to do like a sales call and kind of pitch them and just take however long you want to take just to get a deal done. So I think that's important. And then I just, again, referred back to the property right away. You know, I just wanted to talk to you about that 2-1 that you had. Obviously, I will bleep out the address so you couldn't hear it for personal reasons. But you want to just reference these things. So
Yeah. I would love to know just a little bit about it. If you can kind of just tell me. I know you gave me a little bit of the details. You said it needs like a full remodel. It was about 65 years old. 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Is there any other thing about the condition that you know, whether it's structural, electrical, or is that kind of what you meant by literally it just needs a full gut, everything, plumbing, electrical, a new roof, all of that?
So I'll stop there. And so what I'm doing right now is really, really important. Now, I'm a one-man show. Again, I'm still growing in my real estate business. I'm a one-man show. The goal is not to just be a one-man show, because at the end of the day, it's just really like working a high-paying job. The goal is for you to be able to add on virtual assistants, VAs, grow your team so that you're no longer you're wearing all the hats in your business. You can focus on what actually, are money-making activities, whether it's closing deals, contracts, things like that. But negotiating and talking with sellers, stuff like that. I mean, of course, you can kind of still do that in your business, but you want to be able to delegate that maybe to an acquisition manager or something like that. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because even though I am a one-man show, I'm still already doing a really good habit, which is when you're talking to sellers, and it doesn't matter what marketing form or marketing stream that you've talked to them with, if they have already said certain things, you want to reiterate that. One thing that you'll notice when you grow a team, or that I've heard from people who have a team, is that, let's say they have a virtual assistant who's doing cold calling, right? So the virtual assistant will cold call, and they'll basically get all this information about the condition of the property. And then, the VA who's doing the cold call, their job is not to close on the property. Their job, depending on your business model, but a lot of times they pass it along to an acquisition manager, someone who manages the acquisitions and maybe just finishes and closes the deal, or whoever might be that person in your business. Now, the worst thing that you can do, or the worst thing that can happen for your business, is the cold caller go, oh, hey, great, thank you for all the information about your property. I'll pass this over to our acquisition manager. They'll give you a call so that we can move forward with the process, right? Then the acquisition manager calls and go, hey, so tell me a little bit about the property. And basically the person's like, what the heck? I literally just said all this already to the other person. Now I'm having to explain it again. So it's just a little just recognition and acknowledging, hey, I know that you've already said these things. So notice I said specifically what they said. So actually, let me backtrack. So this was from an SMS campaign, a text message campaign, and the seller immediately responded with just information about the property. It was like, hey, needs this, needs that, basically full gut rehab, etc. So I wanted to reiterate, like, hey, I'm not just ignoring that and just like, hey, let's talk about the condition of the property, because it sounds like I'm just sticking to a script, like, it doesn't matter what the seller might say beforehand. As soon as I get on the call, I must just say this, these things. So I don't want it to seem like that. Now, it is important for you to start with, there's 4 things there's 4 really important things that you want to, talk about when you're talking to sellers. Basically, the flow of a conversation. You should really talk about the condition. Start with the condition. You want to figure out the timeline. How fast do they want to sell? And then you want to figure out the motivation. Why are they selling? What's the pain point, really? And then price. So condition, timeline, motivation, and price. So you always want to start with a condition that really opens up like Pandora's box for all these different things that can actually help you, really make your case and negotiate why you need to buy the property at this price. But again, You don't want to make it sound like, hey, I answer the call, I start with condition. What's the condition of the property? Like if they've already said some things, you do want to start with condition, but go ahead and acknowledge what they've already said. And you're just really asking for more information. So that's kind of why I said, is there anything else, you want to dive deeper? You want to drive that as much as possible, because a lot of times you'll tend to find motivation. You'll go straight from condition to motivation. They might quickly share with you, hey, it's a full gut rehab, right? But then you might find through issues with the property, like, man, this is a really serious thing. Like, it's really costing them every year, paying taxes on it, maintaining the property. Maybe there's water damage. The longer that they have the property sitting there with that water damage, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. You can really, really pinpoint some things that can help you with motivation. So anyway, I'm going to move forward with the call.
Yeah, pretty much. The roof is probably from 2002, maybe 3. It never had central heating and air, so.
Oh, it never had central heating and air.
No.
Heating and air. I said eating and hair. Wow. Yeah, that definitely didn't mean that.
And I think I told you it's on a well.
Oh,
It was always,
yeah, that tells me it's a little too late.
So that was actually a very natural situation where we were able to laugh about something. I will say that psychology is everything. And there's a number of books and things that you can read and watch and even listen to that will tell you the psychology of selling. Before I even got into real estate, I actually was in network marketing for a while. And Brian Tracy was someone that I would study a lot. And he has, these audios and talks about the psychology of selling and stuff like that. One of the things, I'll just throw out just a random tip. One of the things that is really helpful to help get the deal done, so to speak, is to have the seller say a lot of positive things, basically asking questions where they're going to have to agree and say yes and things like that, because the more yeses they say, it's just it's a psychological thing. It's just a more positive. I mean, just imagine just saying no, 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 no. You just say no a lot. It feels negative, right? No, 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 no. But if you're saying yes, 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 I mean, it's just, there's more positivity. I know it's kind of weird. It's just a psychology thing. But anyway, going back to what happened on this call is getting the seller to laugh. I mean, there is also, I don't know if a mentor told me this before, but I just remember hearing this somewhere, that people don't always remember what you say. They remember more of how they felt, right? So I'm sure you can, I don't know if you remember any conversations you've had with people where you don't remember all the things that they said, but you remember how you felt from that conversation. You didn't really feel too good, or, you laughed a lot, or whatever it was, right? So that's really, really key, is if you can get the seller to laugh, if you can really show the vulnerability of yourself, you're not some just, again, cold caller, robotic, let me get some information, move on type person. If you didn't hear what happened in the audio, she said that the house has never had central heating and air. I was about to say it again. Central heating and air. But because I was just, talking a little bit faster, I said, oh, it has no central eating and hair. So I said central eating and hair. Like, that's crazy. But it was funny. And I just took that moment to let that be a moment to laugh and just be vulnerable. And I even repeated it with her. So I could have just moved on. She may not even have heard, right? Because it sounds like heating and air, eating and hair. I mean, she probably didn't even hear it, but I took that moment to drive that a little bit deeper to kind of create a positive attitude in the conversation. So anyway, I think it's really important for you to figure out, your own flow of how to really get sellers to open up and be yourself. I don't think you need to, you don't need to be a comedian on the call or anything like that, or be someone you're not. But figure out, don't let moments pass by where you can maybe just, be a little informal, be a little bit of a friend. At the end of the day, again, we are, these are normal people that are dealing with certain things in their own life, and to allow them to, make a situation that might be already a little difficult, selling, something super, personal to them. I mean, people's homes are kind of, a lot of times one of the most expensive things that they buy, and have a lot of sentiment to them. It's very sentimental. So to really kind of get them to open up and laugh is really key. So anyway, just moving forward with the call here.
And what else?
Okay, so it never had central heating and air. Well, let me ask you. I mean, I'm always kind of interested to know, really, kind of a little bit of the history of the property in general. Like, how did it just kind of, why is it vacant, or just kind of what's the situation with it, and kind of really why you're even selling it.
It's my parents' home.
Oh, okay, it's your parents' home.
Yeah, and I moved my mom out.
So notice something that I'm doing very often is I'm repeating what they're saying. Now, this is something I also learned just back in sales when I was in network marketing. A lot of this stuff is very fundamental and applies no matter what you're doing, and whether you're selling a car, whether you're selling, buying and selling real estate, it doesn't really matter. Whether you're selling shoes, makeup, is you want to repeat what they're saying. It really shows the seller that you're actually paying attention. If someone says, hey, my property, has a back porch, that is, I'm just making something up. Hey, the property has a back porch that's, dark brown or something, right? You want to go, oh, so the property has a back porch that's dark brown. Again, I know it sounds it seems a little, not counterintuitive, but it seems a little interesting to do that. It really, really drives the conversation for the seller to know that you're really paying attention and you're really listening. So you'll notice that I repeat a lot of what has said. She, said that was the property was from, passed down from her mother. It was recently owned by her mother, and I just repeated that just so you know that I was listening. Now, notice that one of the most important questions that you can ask, because it helps with, again, you have these 4 really important things to talk about. You have condition, timeline, motivation, and price. Now, condition and motivation, a big time, are usually, what you're going to be talking about mostly when you're with the seller. Price, you don't want to get into a negotiation battle. We'll talk about maybe that in another video specifically about how to really, talk about price. What are some ways to get price from a seller if they're like, I don't know, I don't have a price, you give me an offer, that type of thing. I'll kind of stick this video strictly to what's happening on this call. We'll talk a little bit about that because I actually negotiate her down, and you'll hear that in the audio. But timeline, it's just a quick question: how fast do you guys really want to sell? Like, if how fast are you really wanting to sell this property? It'll really allow you to, see, is this like a high motivation? Are they, do they want to, hey, we want to sell this property, but, we want to give it about 60 days to 90 days. That gives you an idea of like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a longer property to work with. But if they're like, as soon as possible, I mean, oh my gosh, that is key. That is like the best thing that you can hear is when a seller goes, as soon as possible. I mean, they're ready to go. So anyway, I'm really trying to drive home that motivation, because as much as you can pull out from motivation and why they're selling, which is that question that I asked at the end of the day, is, tell me a little about the history of the property. I just kind of, I like to get to know, why is it vacant? What was going on? Why are you guys selling? What's kind of going on with the situation? That's a great question to ask.
Over 5 years ago, and she passed away at the end of 17.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So that's why, nobody's lived in it since then.
Oh, okay. And have you had anyone just...
So notice I have these long breaks. Again, that's another sort of tip in terms of talking to sellers is you want to give them time. The less that you talk, the more questions you ask, the more information you're going to get, and the better you're going to be able to close the deal, you'll have a higher chance of closing the deal, because a lot of times what happens is we used to say in sales is a lot of times we'll talk ourselves out of a deal. You might start talking, especially if you're a person that loves to have conversation and talk. You'll just talk, and then maybe you'll ask them a question like, why are you guys selling the property? And then she goes, oh, it was owned by my mother, and she passed away a couple years back. And you go, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. It's interesting because I had, a family member who, you just start talking and you totally just break up the flow. You want to kind of acknowledge what they just said. You first, hey, I'm very sorry to hear that. And even when they stop talking, you just pause, because they might, it's again, psychology. It's kind of awkward for there to be a silence. So we naturally fill any space that's awkward to make it unawkward. I know it sounds a little weird, but it's kind of like, a closing question could be, instead of saying like, oh, is 50,000, would that work for you? Some people, they train on a closing question you can ask is, hey, so I really think 50,000 is going to work best for this property and what's going on. So would you like to close on Monday, or would you like to close on Friday, of this month, whatever week? and you just sit and just be quiet, right? You don't want to, like, if they're kind of thanking you, you don't want to jump in and go, because, and because you think that, like, oh, they may reject you or say something negative. So you feel like you need to, it's just, what I'm trying to say is that when there's an awkward moment, we naturally want to feel that with talking more. So you want to just practice pausing, even after they've answered a question. I mean, she answered the whole question and just paused, and I just kind of waited a little bit because she may have said more information. So just practice that, whether they say more information or not. It's just a good thing to practice, and you'll get better at that. So
kind of go check on it, or just any, or I mean, like, when's the last time you've been at the property?
May.
Oh,
They had a lot of interest in the property, but we were at the end of, going through the probate process.
got you.
So I think the last time I showed it to someone was in May.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, like, I guess when you were showing that to them around May, were you still in the probate process, or was it just a price you guys couldn't agree to, or what kind of, I guess, what's kind of, stopping you from selling, or what stopped you from selling it, I guess?
Well, number one, we were still in the probate process.
Gotcha.
So that's a good question to kind of figure out. Sometimes you'll have sellers, sometimes say, like, hey, there's a lot of people interested in this. Hey, I'm getting all kinds of offers, whatever the case may be. And I always like to think, okay, if you're getting a lot of offers, or if you've been showing the property, or if it's been on the MLS, why do you think it's not selling? Or, what's stopping you guys from selling the property? That will unravel a lot of information. You could find that, they're just not getting the right price. Ding, ding, ding. What is that really telling you? They're really, really interested in the price, and they're really, really set on price. They need the right price, right, to sell this property. Sometimes it's just, they want to sell, but you find out that people have just not been following up. People just haven't been doing their job. Honestly, there have been deals where, like, the seller probably would have sold to someone before I did, but the person didn't follow up. They didn't do a call. Hey, I showed them I can't tell how many times I might have a seller go, yeah, I showed the property to someone, and, they just never hit me back up, or they never, whatever the case is. And again, this is a real business. It takes work, it takes effort, and a lot of people just don't do the small, really important things that make a big difference. So follow-up is huge. We always say the fortune is in the follow-up, maybe it wasn't the follow-up situation, but they were showing the property, and she's explaining kind of why they haven't sold. Actually, this leads into the next thing, is sometimes this is why it's important for you to just be patient and you to stay consistent, because it's not always even how well you can convince someone to sell their property, because you should never convince someone to sell their property. Another phrase that I learned in network marketing and in sales back in the day is, a person convinced against their will has the same opinion still. So I'll say that again. A person convinced against their will has the same opinion still. So if they're convinced against their will, like they had this mindset and they had, something that they were really, really set on, and you just convinced them, you did all the techniques and everything you could to persuade them, you really just kind of persuaded them in that moment with your techniques and your conversation, but they still have the same mindset and opinion. So a person convinced against their will has the same opinion still. You don't want to convince people, because even if you convince them to sell their property to you, they're going to have, seller's remorse, and they're going to be like thinking about, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing, and things like that. So you want to find people who are motivated to sell. They're just ready to go, ready to sell the property, right? So it's so interesting. I was actually thinking about a really, really cool, it's actually another video that I'm going to talk to you guys about or share with you, is how to find leads for free, great leads. Actually, you know what? I might as well go ahead and do this. This is totally informal, but hey, I just want this channel to be as helpful as possible and as informal as possible, just so you guys can get great content. So I am actually, I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully, I'm not sure if that is visible. Kind of, not really. So I'm on an app called Nextdoor, and I basically posted on Nextdoor. I'll just read, I'll read this post that I recently did, because I want to show you guys something that just happened. I think that could be very helpful while you're watching this video. And again, if you watch these videos all the way through, you'll come across really cool things like this. So I'll just kind of I wouldn't worry about the post. I kind of remember what I said. Basically, I posted this yesterday, on an app called Nextdoor. I'm not too familiar if Nextdoor is something that's like all across the country. If you live somewhere and you're watching this, if you can just get on Nextdoor and you live in a neighborhood. But I do know that here in South Carolina, in Greenville, that there is an app called Nextdoor where, basically neighborhoods, it's like a community. It's like a Facebook, but for just neighborhood subdivisions. And I basically just posted on there, hey guys, my wife and I are looking for our next fix and flip project, looking for an investment property. Let me know if you know anyone or if you have a property that you're looking to sell, quickly, we're looking to buy. Something like that, along those lines. Literally within minutes. Literally within minutes. I'm going to see if I can show you. Hopefully you guys can see that. I don't know if it's going to, you can kind of see it, but it's a little backwards. Anyway, basically you can see the text that says, my mother-in-law just went into the hospital and unfortunately won't be able to go back to her house. Most likely coming to live with us for a while. Anyway, my wife and I were just talking about someone like you that could be interested and save us. Someone like you that could be interested and save us the trouble of posting it and showing it, all that jazz. We just want to sell as is and try to get her bills paid off. It is in Lawrence County though, so didn't know if that was out of your comfort zone. If you want to check it out online, it's blank the address. Let me know what you think. We wanted to spend the next couple of weeks pulling the furniture out and such, but should be ready to turn over by October. Amazing, right? That was a free lead. I literally spent $0, and this could potentially profit me $5,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 or even more. You never know. And that was literally just by posting that, right? So you could do that on Facebook. You can ask people on Facebook, go to your Facebook, your network, your Instagram. Hey, do you guys know anyone who's looking to sell a house? I'm currently looking for my next investment project, my next fix and flip. It doesn't mean that you're going to fix and flip it yourself. It doesn't mean that you're going to buy it with your own cash yourself. That doesn't matter. The point is that you're just looking for your next fix and flip project, right? None of that is a lie. Whether you fix and flip it yourself or whether you just pass it along to another buyer, you're still looking for a fix and flip or a fixer-upper. And you will find that people will literally, I've posted on this app 3 times. That was the 3rd time. And someone finally reached out because, again, this is going back to what I was saying about, or going back to the call where Tamika was saying that one of the reasons they hadn't sold the property is because they were in the middle of the probate. So this is why it's important to be consistent. I had posted on this app Nextdoor 3 times, and the 3rd time's a charm, I had someone reach out where they're just literally motivated. The mother-in-law went into the hospital. She can't go back to the house. She has to live with them. They have this house that's just vacant now and just sitting there. They need to sell it as is. They don't want to have to do any work to it. They want to sell it as is. They don't want to go with a real estate agent and list it and have showings. They just want to have someone who can just pay cash, buy it as is, no hassle, get the deal done. Ding, 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 what we do in wholesaling, in real estate, right? So amazing, amazing, amazing opportunity. But the key to this is you want to stay consistent because timing is everything. Notice that there were people who maybe have reached out to her that she may have sold the property to. She may have totally sold the property to, but at that time, they just were not ready to sell at that moment. I came along. I could have followed up with her maybe 3 or 4, 5 times and, have gotten to this point. But it just happened so to be that this was the first time I reached out to her and they were ready to sell. So sometimes it might take you 3, 4, 5 times following up with someone for them to be ready to sell. Or sometimes you can get to it. You literally, as soon as you reach out to them, they might be ready to sell right at that moment. You just got to be consistent with this. And that's the hardest thing for most people. Are you willing to take 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, 6 months? I saw a story where a guy literally had been doing wholesaling real estate for a year. He had not done a deal yet, a whole entire year. And he finally was able to close a deal towards the end of the year. I'm going to try and find that post, maybe try and post it up here on the video if I can find it. And he finally closed the deal. I believe it was like $25,000. Somewhere around $25,000. People make $25,000 to $30,000 a year working a full-time job. And this guy closed one deal and just basically made an entire year's salary, or entire year's earning towards the end of the year because he stayed persistent. So anyways, we're going to move forward with this call and give you guys some more content.
And they thought about it, came back and made an offer that I
is this something kind of where you're like wanting to sell? Like, if we could come to an agreement, I mean, are you like how fast are you wanting to sell the property? Because you guys are out of probate now, but
it's divided into 5 portions, so there are certain ones that really want to get it sold, and I'm willing to sell it. I have no emotional attachment to it, so yeah.
Wait, so you said there's like 5, as in 5 decision makers? There's 5 people?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this is an interesting situation. Probably not the most ideal call. I apologize, but again, I'm just trying to get this content out for you guys to kind of just hear calls that I'm doing. And it was a great one because there's some other great information in here. But yes, I did find out that there were 5 people on the deed. So yes. This is a thing that I learned through real estate is you always want to, or real estate in terms of wholesaling especially, really in general, is anytime you're talking to a person and they're selling this property, they are selling the property, you really want to figure out if there are more people on the deed, because that one person you're talking to cannot just sell the property without the other people being on board. So sometimes people inherit the property and they just inherit themselves. They want to sell it. They want to sell it. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes a whole gang of people inherit a property. It could be a whole group of siblings, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that have basically are decision makers, or that their names are on the deed. I don't necessarily know why someone necessarily does it. I guess it helps legally give everyone the right to get some kind of piece out of the pie when it's sold, but it definitely makes it a lot more difficult to move a property, because you can't just send a contract out to, let's say, Tamika, get it signed, go to title, get it ran, and then find a buyer and close the deal. You got to actually get in contact with all of the other members that are that are listed on the deed of the property, and they have to also agree, also be on the contract and sign as well. And that's kind of what's going on with this property, is that there's some other decision makers. But I think what's really important to take from this is the question that I asked, and I said, if we can come to an agreement, how fast are you willing to sell? There are many ways that you can structure that to get to that question. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you want to just say, Mr. Seller, like if we can get to an agreement here, how fast are you wanting to sell the property? That really allows you to know. You could hear her motivation. She has no emotional attachment to this property. She wants to sell as quickly as possible. She's like, I'm ready to go. I don't really care. Now, if it was just her, that would be ideal. That's the perfect type of motivated seller. They're like, I'm ready to go. I have no emotional attachment to this. Please, let's figure out how to get this deal done. So really important to ask that question, because again, that really just highlights motivation for you.
5 families. So.
Oh, there's 5 families that are like on the deed?
They're the siblings, the children of my parents, and I have siblings that are deceased, so their children each one has their parents' portion. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, my wife and I this is kind of what we do. We're constantly looking for distressed properties and just properties in general that people are wanting to sell. Typically, we work with an individual, or at most like a couple. So maybe help me kind of understand, how would this process work with 5 individuals?
Everyone's got to agree to sell. As far as I know, they're ready to sell, and they have to agree on whatever contract or price offer that we take is the best one.
Now, again, I typically work with like a homeowner, and we'll come to an agreement and have a price, and we sign a contract and we just move forward, and easy transaction. Helps them, it helps me. But it sounds like with this, is there like kind of a lot of bidding back and forth? Like, let's say you and I agree to a price, and basically I'm going to have to kind of wait until everyone else hears, and then maybe one person out of the 5 might say I want a little bit more, and then we just kind of go back and forth and back. Is that kind of or like how?
So, in the last 6 months, 8 months, I've had a lot of inquiries. So I have sent the same information I sent you to all of them. I opened it up for bids beginning on the 20th through the 1st of September. Anyone wanted to make an offer, we'll look at the offers, consider the best offer.
So I'm starting to uncover really kind of what this process is going to be, and that's why it's important for you not to assume and just ask the question. Of course, I really already know how the process works when there's other members on the deed. Like I said, you have to get them all on board and they all have to agree. But I wanted to get from her perspective what's really going on in that family and really where their minds are at. So, I basically created a situation like, this is what we typically do. We typically work with a seller, we come to an agreement, we sign a contract, we move forward. Seems like with you guys, there's a lot of people who are going to have to make a decision. Is there going to be really bidding involved? I'm really trying to uncover what the attitudes are like in this situation, or how this process might move forward. Like, am I going to, are we going to agree to a price, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, and then, everyone, there might be one person out of the game that's going to want $5,000, $2,000 more. We're going to have to go back and forth. And, what if she said, yeah, well, I really want to do my best to help get this thing done. So, just send me an offer and I will, really try and make this work. So now you know that this person's going to kind of work on your behalf and, really get that other person just to get on board so that they can move forward with the process. But this actually, it didn't really seem that way. It kind of sounds like all of them together are really just kind of bidding. They're just, hey, everyone send offers and we're just going to take the highest and best offer, by, come September 1st. So, it was important to understand that because I kind of, I was able to uncover really what the attitude, what the motivation, or what the process is probably going to be like working with her. And it was really great to get that information just by asking, what is this going to be? Even if you already know what it probably will be like, just go ahead and ask them, how is that going to work? And just let them explain that. So
right now, this is more so kind of a bidding. You're really not going to make any decision until sometime later next month and just choose the best and highest offer.
Yeah, the first is next week, so.
Okay. Obviously, my wife, we don't really want to get into a bidding war necessarily. I would love to know, what are you thinking a house is selling, typically in your area, like similar to the home that you have right now? Like, what price are you guys looking at?
We set an asking price of $50,000.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said the asking price we set was $50,000.
So this is a great tip. One of the things that you want to do to be able to get price, so notice we talked about condition, I talked about timeline, right? And we talked very much about motivation, all these different things about motivation. So again, condition, timeline, motivation, the last thing is price. Now, how did I really get into that price conversation? Well, I feel like I've had enough information. I know what's going on with the property. I know how long it's been sitting. I know it doesn't have this, it needs this. I know the timeline of what's kind of going on right now. I definitely know a good bit of motivation. So it's kind of time to like, hey, let's figure out what are you guys wanting to sell this property for? So the way you move into that, one way that you can say is you could really just outright say, like, what are you wanting to sell the property for? And if they go, I don't really know, I'm not sure. One of the things that you want to say is, well, what do you think what do you think homes are selling for that are similar to yours? Because see, now they're not really thinking about what, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like a trick way, but it really just gets their mind off of like them feeling like they're committing to a number on their own house. And it more so kind of gets their focus on just like, what do they think things are, it gets their mind, it gets you into their mind of what they really think they can sell their property for. Because notice, if you say, what do you think homes like yours are selling for in your area? And they go, oh, let's say the property is really only worth like $50,000. And they go, oh, I think about $100,000. You kind of know, you can kind of tell like, okay, they obviously, they're obviously way out of their mind on how much they think their property is worth. But it at least gets you into their mind of what you think that they could, what you think that they're, or what they think that they can or are trying to sell the property for. So she said $50,000. I just went straight to that last part instead of just saying, what do you want to sell the property for? Just because again, there's multiple people on the deed. I just said, what do you think homes are selling for in that area that are similar to yours? And then she kind of gave me, well, collectively they said that they've been putting out their $50,000 as an asking price for the home. So now watch what happens next.
But like I said, we will review and consider what offers come across the table.
Yeah. do you know what homes are selling totally renovated in your area?
Yeah, and we're talking maybe 125,000.
Yeah, 125. So that's kind of my thing is, I was kind of around there as well, 125,000. Maybe even a little more than that. About $5,000-$10,000 more. But the challenge is, that's kind of being that's kind of stretching it, kind of being on the highest end. But on average, like you said, around 125,000. The only challenge with it is if we buy the property $50,000 cash, that's already $50,000 into the deal just to own the property, and for a full gut rehab for a property with basically about 1,200 square foot, it's a little over 1,000 square feet. To do a full rehab, I mean, we're talking about basically going to have to probably replace the roof, definitely going to have to replace plumbing, definitely going to have to replace electrical, definitely going to have to replace floors, bathrooms, kitchen. And if you see any of the properties that have sold within the past 6 months, they've all been at least 3 bedrooms with either 1 bath or 1.5. There's a lot of 3-2s, which is ideal. But this being a 2-1, we'd also have to add another bedroom. So we're basically looking close to about an $80,000 renovation to do this job, and obviously kind of doing the numbers. If we're doing $80,000 in renovation and then buying it at 50, we're way above. I mean, we're basically all in over what homes are selling totally renovated. We're at 130,000. So that's the only thing that in order to kind of make this really, really work, again, I don't want to give you a number that makes you feel kind of uncomfortable or anything like that, but we definitely would have to be somewhere between like 20 to 30,000, 30 being on the highest. Again, my wife and I mean, we're not some big company. We're not, selling to us, we pay cash. There'd be no realtor fees. Obviously, you guys aren't, doing any realtor. We buy it as is, close quick, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, 50,000, is that really like, is that kind of, because you kind of see where, if homes are selling for about 125 and you're buying it at 50, let's just say we even cut corners and we just only do a $50,000 renovation, which is pretty tough on a full rehab. We're talking about renovating the entire home. You're already at $100,000, and that's not including holding costs, realtor fees, selling it on the MLS, inspection. You know what I mean? So, okay. Well, I know for sure. Again, like I said, we'd have to be somewhere between 20 to 30,000. But that seems like something. Is that something that you guys are working with, or you guys already have offers way above that?
I haven't even reviewed the offers that have come into the email yet.
So let's just go ahead and stop there. There's a lot to unpack there. I'll try not to make it too long, but basically I started with laying out the groundwork for why I'm going to offer what I'm offering. First, I got the price from her, $50,000, right? I already knew in my head that's not where I want to be, right? So I need to help the seller understand why that's not where I want to be. You don't want to just go like, well, I can't really do 50,000. I got to do X, right? You really want to, sound like you know what you're talking about, and you can do that very simply. You don't need to be an expert in real estate. All you have to do is look at the numbers. All I did was walk her through what was happening in her neighborhood, in her area. Everything that I saw that was selling on the MLS, which weren't that many properties, but for the ones that were for the past 6 to 12 months, they were all 3 bedrooms, number one. This was a 2 bedroom. So for sure to be able to compete and be in the market of what's happening in that neighborhood, I would need to add another bedroom. In addition, on top of that, it would need a full rehab. Everything need to be renovated. The roof definitely would need to be renovated. And a little tip for you guys is there's a thing called the 4.7s, which on average across the country, of course, there's going to be some that are a little bit more expensive, some that might be a little bit cheaper, but on average, the 4.7s, there's 4 major repairs that cost around $7,000 for a home. And that can kind of give you an idea already what like a renovation cost would even start with. So you have your roof, you have electrical, you have your plumbing, and you have HVAC. All of that together, if you really do the numbers on that, you're already looking at over $30,000 of a renovation. So to do that, including floors, including the roof, to do repainting, to add another, bedroom, landscaping, all of this stuff. I mean, we're looking at closer to $80,000 or maybe even a little bit more, especially if you have a general contractor that you're hiring to manage all the work and things like that. So there's no way on the planet that someone would be able to buy this property at $50,000 and then be able to make any profit if the going rate right now for a home totally renovated is $125,000. There's just absolutely no way anyone would fix and flip that. So you need to be able to, you're not even having to negotiating. You're really just telling them there's just no way that it's not a negotiation. I mean, I'm giving you the numbers, like there's no way that can happen. And a lot of times I'll even give them an address where they can look at the comp themselves and see like this property sold for 120, 125,000 or 130,000. So you want to walk them through that process. And notice another key thing that I did there is I didn't give them an offer price. I gave them an offer range. So you don't want to go ahead and say, okay, well, I think I need to be at, $40,000 or $42,000. A lot of times what people do is they'll do the equation, right? They'll take ARV, multiply it by 0.7, 70% of ARV, and then, minus repairs, and then, minus their wholesale fee that they want to make, and then they just give that number. You don't want to do that. It locks you into that number, and a lot of times you're going to start at that number and have to go up from there, right? So you want to actually give a range. So what I do is if I know I can wholesale this property and make like $10,000 to $20,000, if I get it under contract at like $35,000, what I'll say is I need to be somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000, because guess what happens a lot of times? The seller will obviously, do you think that they're going to go, okay, great, let's go to the $20,000? No. They're a lot of times going to meet you at the top of your budget, sometimes even push you a little bit higher than that. So I'll say I need to be somewhere between 20 to 30. Maybe they'll take 30. That's amazing, great, done deal. It will be a smoking deal. But then if not, then we might have to negotiate to meet in the middle at 35, which again, you'll kind of see what happens from here. So hopefully that made sense on how you lay out the groundwork of how to present your offer to the seller. You don't want to just give them a price, and you don't want to just negotiate right off the back. Oh, I can't do that, or hey, it needs to be at this number, or whatever the case. You want to very politely, very calmly, it's almost like you're on their side, just saying, yeah, no, I absolutely understand that, and I think, price homes are selling for around that area as well, or what I'm finding. She was actually a little spot on for what I was finding in that area, and I even threw in an extra $5,000 to $10,000 just to kind of make her feel even more positive that I'm on her side. Even though an extra 5 to 10 wouldn't really matter with the amount of repairs in the ARV, there's still no way to buy it at $50,000 to really make a solid profit when you include paying holding cost, the renovation itself, paying realtor fees to sell it, all the different things. So anyway, we'll move forward, and hopefully you'll get some more good information out of this.
Naturally, as the property owners, we're trying to get as much out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And look, and I want to make sure. Look, trust me, I want you guys to know I'm here to work with you. I know you guys have this property, and I know you, especially if there's a number of people tied to it. It's just the challenge is when there's a number of people tied to the property. Of course, everyone's obviously having in their mind kind of a number that they want, but if you can kind of maybe just see in terms of someone buying the property, how it would have to make sense for them to buy it. You know what I mean?
I definitely understand. I definitely understand. it isn't that aspect.
So what I just did right there is I shifted her mindset from thinking about herself and the group of people and the money that they're wanting, and actually very just gently and very calmly and respectively get her to think about the person buying the property. Because again, you know, it's really that mindset of put yourself in their shoes. I get it. I put myself in their shoes. I know they want to sell the property, but at the end of the day, you know, or sell the property for this price. At the end of the day, they're going to walk away with cash. Even if it has to be split up, at the end of the day, they're going to walk away with cash and not have to do anything to the property. For someone buying the property, they're the ones spending the money, number one. Then number two, taking on all the risk to maybe not even make a profit. So I'm trying to get her to understand, or really get her to, like, you know, hey, I am for you guys. I'm here to help you guys and make this a win-win. But you know, I just, I would love for you guys to kind of maybe just try and see, as you know, on my side for someone buying the property, you know, why that really wouldn't make sense because of these numbers. It just really wouldn't make sense if you're buying the property. So.
It has to make sense both ways.
And notice she said it has to make sense both ways. So now I'm getting the seller not on the defensive side. So that's really important. You don't want to come in at these conversations where the person is on the defensive and, you know, they're just like defending their side. You want to get them to go to really have a mindset that you have. Hey, let's make this a win-win. How can we make this a win-win for everyone?
Tax value on that property is still around 33, 34, something like that. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, anything around that area probably would be sufficient. But, you know, I've had people come in for less than that, and that's why I'm still sitting on it.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. So I actually did a little bit of research. Not to be weird. we just always want to make sure, you know, we know what we're talking about. You know. But so the tax value to what I'm looking at in terms of what the county is saying is $37,960. I think that's still a little bit on the higher end. Like I said, we need to be somewhere between 20 to 30, and I think that's why you're having people, you know, kind of offer below that. I want you to know, and I don't want to speak for other people. Obviously, I'm not in their business, but someone offering below that, it's not like as a disrespectful thing, like they're just trying to lowball you. Like that's why I'm even trying to give you like legit numbers. You know, if you look at homes that are selling in your area, you know, you're seeing that they're mostly like 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, and you guys' property is a 2-1. So right off the bat, you're going to have to add. I can even give you, an example. There's a property not too far from yours. It's 80, and it sold about 5 months ago for $32,000, and it's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 1,157 square foot, and it has a huge lot. It's a 26,397, and it was built newer. It was built in 1971. So this you can actually write down if you want. It's 80, and it needs a full rehab as well. And if you look at it on Zillow, you can obviously see it needs a full rehab. But you know, you're talking about a property that, you know, already has the 3-bedroom. You know what I mean? And it has the same square footage, and it has a bigger lot, and it was built newer, and it sold for $32,000. So that's why it's just hard for me to kind of justify, like, you know, buying this one that's smaller. You know, so we're gonna have to actually, you know, add like additions to the property. We're gonna have to add a bedroom, and then totally do a rehab on the, you know, full rehab. I mean, plumbing, electrical, floor. I mean, just everything. To spend, you know, almost $10,000 to $20,000 more. You know what I mean? And it's like right down the street. Like 80 Bruce Road is about, it says 0.5 miles from your property. So the tax value, like I said, I think again they're kind of valuing it. You know, they do an assessment every year, but again, it's not like they're actually going to the property and seeing exactly what's going on and what needs to be done. Would it be okay? How about this? Would it be okay to still honor being around the tax value, but for us to maybe look at me being a little on the higher end? I said 30, but maybe doing 35, maybe kind of meeting in the middle.
Sure.
Okay. Well, here's what I'd like to do.
So one thing that, again, I want to, be transparent with you guys. I'm not an expert, I'm not a guru, and I'm still growing myself. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to have really the tonality where I'm like, would it be okay to kind of do this price? I think the reason why I was really with that attitude is because I had already built such a, hey, I'm a friend of yours, I'm a team member of yours. So, I don't really like the card close. Like, okay, great. Well, I know you guys want to be at 50,000. I can really only do 30,000. I'm willing to do 35,000. So let's do 35. Would you like to close on Monday or would you like to close on Wednesday? There are a lot of, training and sales strategies out there. And look, everyone has their own business. At the end of the day, I want people to feel like I am not trying to screw them over. I'm not trying to, haggle them. I want them to know like I'm just an average guy who just really wants to get a good deal on a property, but also help you guys out. Like, let's make this work for everyone. So I will work on finding a better way to really close that maybe a little bit harder. But what's really, really important is taking the fact that, or guys, remember, their asking was 50,000. I mean, I just negotiated them down to $35,000, and they were originally wanting 50,000, and remember, they were getting tons of offers, right? She said they had a lot of interest, they were getting tons of offers, and I negotiated down to $35,000. Right? So one of the ways to be able to do that is, again, building a strong, powerful case on why it really needs to be at that price, because it'll really allow them to understand that you're not trying to run over them or trying to, like I said, haggle. You're literally just trying to be very, blunt and honest with what's going on in that area. And I even gave her an actual property so that she could look at herself. Whether they look at it themselves, a lot of times they won't even go look at the property, but because you just give them the information, they just feel like, wow, this person's really trying to be very transparent and they're not trying to, scam me or anything like that. So I think it's really important for you to, while you're on the phone, you don't have to I wouldn't advise you doing a lot of that research before you get on the call. While you're on the phone, I would have a computer or something next to you where you can pull up the property and you can look at this stuff and get really good at finding where this information is. So you're very efficient when you're on the phone, but you don't want to spend a lot of time doing that before the call. And the reason for that is, let's say I did all of the comps, I did all of the research, I found the numbers, I did all this stuff, and then I talked to the seller and they're not even looking to sell the property. Man, what a waste of time, right? So you want to spend as least amount of time as you can on that property until you really know that they are really highly motivated. And then on the call, you want to really kind of, do this all sort of, at the same time with the call, and then be able to get them smoothly to understanding, why you want to be able to be at a certain price. So I started with an offer range, and then we got to an exact price at 35, and she said, sure, right? And that actually works. So I will continue.
I'd like to legitimately be able to walk the property, but legally, I can't really go to your home, you guys' property, without any type of equitable interest. It just basically means having a contract for me to be able to get on the property. We're in agreement. Typically what we do with any homeowners before we walk the property, we'll get a contract written up, and it allows us to be able to go to the property, walk it through, and kind of do our due diligence to the T to make sure, hey, if we are going to do 35, the numbers are really going to work. And if they do, we'll move forward. And if they don't, then no hard feelings. You guys are still able to sell the property however you want to sell it. And we're able to kind of just, move on to the next deal. But we definitely have to make sure our numbers work on every property, because there's only so many, obviously homes that we can buy every year. And this year is almost over.
So what I'm doing right now is I am closing the deal over the phone, basically getting a contract. Now, there are two ways that people do their business. There's one way where people really, really value going on seller appointments, which means getting into your car, sitting in traffic, driving to the property, meeting with the seller face-to-face, walking the property, having a conversation, finishing up the conversation, getting back in your car, maybe drive by Starbucks, then go all the way back to your house, then figure out your numbers, and then try and close the deal. As you can see, I am really passionate about not doing that, and I know there are tons of people who argue against that, and it maybe even works. I know there are actually people, and that works for their business. They do a lot of seller appointments, and that works. But as you can imagine, that takes a lot of time. So for someone like, let's say me, who were able to just, let's say, get this contract locked up over the phone, guess what I could do literally the next minute? Call up the next motivated seller to get another contract locked up. So while I'm able to lock up maybe 4 or 5 contracts, in one day, maybe one person can only lock lock up one, if even that one, because they spent, 2 hours to basically walk the property, meet with the seller, and do all these things before they even got the contract, and then they didn't even get the contract. So you don't want to spend a lot of time, unnecessary time, with the seller until you have a contract in hand. So I was basically just making my case on why I want to go ahead and get a contract signed now over the phone. And the way I leverage that is by saying that legally I can't just go to the property and just walk the property without having any type of legal contract that gives me rights to be on the property. I mean, if I have a contract for this property to buy it, I have equitable interest, which means I have a right to be able to go on the property if it's definitely on the contract and it says I have access to the property. I mean, it's in our contract legally, so that actually makes sense and it's actually true, and it allows them to go, okay, I understand. Well, we just got to a price that we agreed to. Why would we not be able to just write up a contract? We both just agreed to this price. The contract, doesn't bind you to that price. If it doesn't work for me, I can back out and it's totally fine. It's called a due diligence period. So you want to have a due diligence period in your contract so that, when you spend that amount of time for the due diligence, let's just say 15 days, 20 days, at that time, you're actually going to be looking for a buyer because now you have a contract. So you're going to be looking for a buyer. And you want to go to the properties and take photos and do videos and things like that so you can market it to a buyer. But during that due diligence period, if you are not able to find a buyer, this is how this helps people who feel like they're afraid to. I heard, someone came to me and said that one of the reasons they're afraid to just lock up a property with a seller is because what if they can't perform? Well, number one, you should always get at a price that you can perform. But worst case scenario, that's why you have the due diligence period. You're walking the property and you're getting all your numbers and ducks in a row. But at the same time, you're looking for a buyer. And if you can't find a buyer, let's just say worst case scenario, there is no one who wants to buy this property. You've already made that clear to the seller. You can end the contract. I explained to her, I just said, hey, if it doesn't work out, I'll end the contract, move forward. You guys can continue selling the property. It's no big deal. So that's really important for you to be able to get a contract before going to these properties and spending all the time in traffic and gas and money and meeting with the seller. Get a contract signed, because if you can move the property, there's no need for you to even go to the property, especially if you have someone going over there, virtually and taking photos and videos. There are a lot of times I've never even seen a lot of the deals I've never even seen the seller or even the buyer. I mean, how amazing is that? The deal that we're closing on actually on Tuesday of next week. Today's Friday. I have never seen the seller and I've never seen the buyer. Right? So it's really, really important for you to spend the least amount of time so you can get more deals done. But I'll move forward with this call, and here we go.
So, would you be able to access your computer or your email today at all?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'll do is, when will you actually be at your computer, or even just have access to your email?
When will you be at your computer or have access to your email? So it's a great tip that I learned. Is one of the things that I struggled with sometimes is I would send a contract out and I wouldn't get the contract signed. Right? Because I would just send it out and I would say, hey, sign the contract, yada, yada, yada. And then the buyer or the seller would just kind of either take their time. They're like, I'll get to it tonight. Or then they go send it off to a friend, a real estate agent, attorney, whatever it is. And it just kind of really stalls. So now what I'm trying to work on is actually saying, hey, when is a good time that you'll be at your computer or have access to your email? Because then I want to actually get to that time. Let's say we say at 4 o'clock, and I want to call them and then send the contract. So we're on the phone and we get it signed right then and there. So I'm not just sending out contracts and just waiting for them to sign it, or maybe never get a contract signed, and you're just waiting around and maybe never hear from them. I'm on the phone, and the way to leverage that is you just telling them, I want to be on the phone because I want to be able to answer any of your questions about the contract. So let me know what's a good time that you'll be either at your computer, obviously to pull up the contract, or access to your email, because a lot of the apps and things that you can use to have contracts signed, like DocuSign and things like that, you can just do it right from your phone. So they don't need to be at a computer, they can do it anywhere, So very important question to ask, and very important way to get contracts signed more efficiently without just sending out contracts and waiting for signatures. Get on the phone with them, do it at a time you scheduled so you know that it gets signed and it gets done.
Anytime. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write up a contract for 35. I'm going to send that over to you. I'm actually going to have my assistant send that over to you because I'm actually about to head out of the office. But I'm going to have my assistant send that over to you.
This, you can either play or not play with this, but I like to really create the experience like you're already where you want to be. You know, I already see myself with an assistant and, you know, a team and all this stuff. I'm a one-man show, but what I do is I say I'm going to have my assistant send it over. It's really my wife. I mean, it could be your kids, anyone who obviously, you know, is intelligent enough and proficient enough to be able to send an email out. I mean, you honestly could even do it yourself and just kind of make it seem like it's someone else. It really just adds that level of, you know, like legitimacy. You know, if you have a great, you know, really cool website, I have a great website, you'll have people argue you don't need a website. I'm telling you, it really has helped. It's not necessary, really. I've done a number of deals where the website never came up, but it can help. So why not just get it done and never have to touch it again and you just have it? But even things like having an assistant or saying, hey, my assistant will shoot you over an email, it just makes it seem more legitimate in that you are, yeah, maybe a very just, you're not this huge, humongous company, but you are legitimate and you have an assistant and you're serious about your business. So anyway, just throwing that out there.
Just look out for either my name, Miles, her name, Denise, or just our name, our company name, just Risen, REI. But you'll probably either see my name or her name. And you'll be able to review that contract. And again, I'd like to be able to go ahead and look at that property tomorrow, but if we could go ahead and get it signed so I could be able to head over there, I'll call you when I'm on my way there. I'll do a little walkthrough, and we'll kind of just see if that really makes sense numbers-wise to be able to move forward. And if it does, the next step is very simple. I work with the Bobotis Law Firm here in Greenville. So, you know, we do everything legally through a law firm. You know, it's not just, you know, handing anybody money and just signing paper. We're going to run title at the law firm here in downtown Greenville. We buy properties and use them all the time and close on properties. And they're going to get in touch with you. They'll send you an email, and we'll all just be in the loop, basically. And, you know, we'll just stay in communication. And any questions you have, please call me, let me know, text me. But I definitely want to, you know, make this work for you. So.
Give me your name again, please.
Yeah, my name is Miles. Yes, ma'am. And then my wife's name is Denise, so just Denise.
The email address that's coming from?
Yeah, so it'll either come...
Now, interestingly, I did say my assistant, but then I also then said my wife, so they probably won't catch things like that. You might have someone who's swift enough to just be like, okay, this guy, maybe he's, you know, calling his wife his assistant to sound more legitimate. Probably, probably won't do that anymore. I'll probably just say my wife, or just say my assistant and leave my wife out of there. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Again, it goes back to what I was saying before, is that you don't need to be perfect to do this. Take imperfect action, because imperfect action is better than no action at all. But so what I'm doing as well as we get off the call is, again, just making them feel more comfortable that I'm here for them. So I'm letting them know, even once we get the contract signed. A lot of times you might have a wholesaler go, all right, well, I'll send you the contract, and they just send the contract over, and then the seller's still kind of like maybe a little worried, like what happens next? You know, you just don't want to allow your sellers to really feel any sort of uncertainty and uncomfortable, and feel uncomfortable at all. So I really want her to know, okay, you know, I'm going to send you this contract, we're going to get it signed, I'm going to walk the property, yada, yada, but then I take it a step further. But just so you know how this will work moving forward as well, just to kind of finish off the transaction, is you'll get information from the title company, they'll ask some questions about you, we'll run title on the property to make sure everything's clear. It just, again, it elevates the legitimacy for you, and it makes it seem like you really know, and doesn't actually make it seem you do know what you're talking about, because that is what happens, and you're relaying that to them, so they just feel more comfortable, like, okay, this person's really going to help me, you know, throughout this process. So it's really important for you to do that.
From info, so info as an information at .com, or you'll get an email from connect at .com. And again, your name was Tamika?
It is Tamika, Tamika.
Okay, Tamika, well, I'll go ahead and send over that contract. Just be on the lookout for that email, and like I said, if we can go ahead and just get that signed, so then we can head to the property, and I'll call you before I get there. And before I get there, and that'll be in the contract too, but how would I be able to enter the property? Like, you know, is there a key that I'd get from you, or is there a way to just enter it, or is it just open?
I have someone meet you and let you in.
Okay, that would work then. Sounds good.
And I'm 8 to 5, so tomorrow I have something I have to do at 6 tomorrow, so I doubt if I can
saying after 5 p.m. My wife and I can head over there?
Let me confirm to see if I can have someone else let you in tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll respond to you in the email.
Okay. That sounds great. Awesome.
Right.
Well, looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Tamika.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bam, deal is done, contract signed, negotiated with the seller from $50,000 to $35,000, was a great deal. So, I guess the last thing to talk about that was really, what's really important is understanding. You want to definitely make sure you get that information from the seller about how you'll be able to enter the property, because you know, they don't really understand and necessarily know how this process works. So a lot of times I'll put a lockbox on, I'll ask them to put a lockbox on, drop the key, I'll go over there, or you know, they feel more comfortable having someone meet me there. My goal is to not ever have to go to the properties anymore. I'm just going to have someone literally just go over there, even in my own local town. Like, I mean, the property might be 10 minutes away. I don't care. I don't want to leave the house. Could you imagine me being able to get on the phone with a seller, do all of this, get a contract, have someone else go get property, go get the photos and the video, send it on a Google Drive link, and then, you know, be able to write up the marketing material to be able to send to buyers. A buyer finds the deal, we take it to title. I just email title, hey, you know, how's everything looking on title? They come back, you know, the title comes back clean a couple days later, and then we close a few days later. That you make $15,000, $20,000 within, you know, 2 to 3 weeks, and you never left your bedroom. Guys, that's the power of wholesaling real estate virtually and wholesaling real estate in general, and that's really the next step. I went to the property myself, but that is the next step for me to do that. But really, really important, guys. So hopefully this call really helped you out. I apologize for some of the cuts, but hopefully you still got enough great information out of here. Again, you want to focus on the 4 main important things when you're talking to sellers, and that's condition of the property, timeline, the motivation, and price. So condition, timeline, motivation, and price. If you follow that layout and that guideline, you'll really be able to just comprise a good conversation and be able to have this flow that you'll practice more and more when you do that, and you'll have structure. So you're not just calling the phone and kind of like, what do I say? What do I do? You know, hey, right away I need to figure out condition of the property. Then once you talk about that enough, you're like, okay, I need to figure out, you know, what time, you know, how fast do they want to sell? Then I need to figure out, you know, which you'll generally find motivation with condition as well, but you want to just, you know, why are you guys selling? What's going on with the property? And then the price situation that you guys hear. So guys, listen to this call over and over. Honestly, take notes on it, and ask me any questions. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment and say #BiggerProfits. And if you also have any deals that you want me to analyze or that you want me to help find a buyer for, I'll leave a link in the description below as well, and I'll help you find a buyer for the deal. But thank you guys for watching this, and I'm looking forward to more content to come out outside of real estate, again, because I'm really, really passionate about and really excited about helping you guys make bigger profits, not only just in real estate and your financial life, but your marital and you know, health and relational and spiritual, all these different areas to really help create a bigger profit of life in general for you. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.